Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out the short-term bullish divergence as expected, just about to retest this crucial area of resistance, but now hitting overbought in the short term in the RSI, while the Bitcoin liquidation heat map is, of course, wiping out some major liquidity here in the shorter term, but we now have new price targets that we need to pay attention to, which I'll talk about in just a moment for the price of Bitcoin, alongside XRP, also now perfectly bouncing from this crucial area of support, also following Solana currently bouncing from this very important area of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, indicating a larger bearish market or a larger correction in the price of Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a massive bearish divergence, technically still active, still playing out on the much larger time frame. So remember, if we're talking about the larger trends, the longer term trends that we're in, we're still not in the clear yet, still not looking good on the weekly time frame. But if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, of course, in the somewhat shorter term here, we have seen a major bounce from around $60,000 acting as a key point of support. We also have a lot of support down here based on previous support in the price in between 53,000 to 56,000. So obviously at these lower prices right here, of course, we have a lot of support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, we're potentially now about to retest a crucial area of resistance, which starts at give or take 72,000, but is really sitting in between around 72,000 to 76,000 as a strong area of resistance to watch out for. And obviously, alongside bouncing from this point of support here, we're also playing out an oversold signal here in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI. So like I've already been saying every day for the last half a week to almost 1 week now, we're most likely going to see either a slight bullish relief or maybe just a bit of choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from an oversold signal here on the 3-day time frame, most likely lasting for maybe a couple of weeks. Remember, this is not necessarily a long-term reversal signal, just a short-term signal telling us to expect a bit of a shorter-term relief during the larger bearish trend, potentially kind of like what we saw during December 2025. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously, as I talked about in my last video just yesterday, I said we've now officially confirmed a new shorter term bullish divergence here on the 2-hour time frame, which means we're most likely going to see a little bit more of a bullish relief just in the short term, moving up towards this major line of resistance. And ever since I said that right around here, obviously, we have continued to exactly play out that prediction as expected, of course, and we're right now getting extremely close to testing this exact level of resistance, which is actually sitting at just under 72,000, closer towards around 71,500, 71.6k as that key level of resistance to watch out for. But obviously, in the last matter of hours, we have started to slow down a little bit during this bullish relief because we did just hit overbought for the first time in quite a while here in the 2-hour Bitcoin RSI, which is a sign that we're starting to move towards the upside a little too quickly, and we need to slow down a little bit to reset the RSI out of overbought, which has been happening as we could see over the last few hours as of recording this video. But considering the fact we've not yet technically invalidated this short-term bullish divergence, alongside the fact that we're still technically playing out this oversold signal on the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, obviously it is quite likely, as I've already been predicting for the last few days or so, it's quite likely we're going to ultimately slowly move up towards this resistance. And then once again, because that's still a major area of resistance to watch out for, start to expect a lot of struggle around this area, especially as we get close to 72,000, even just under 72,000 in the 71k area, start to expect the price to struggle around there and possibly even see further rejections from around that area on the price chart. And so obviously right now, all of this price action is continuing to play out exactly as predicted. There's nothing much else to add here that's new. But if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, obviously over the last 1 day, we perfectly wiped out this exact area of liquidity that was building above the price of Bitcoin at give or take $70,000. And right now that that's already been wiped out, we have new liquidity to watch out for that's building just above the price of Bitcoin here. Looking at the last 1 week worth of price action in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we have a new level of liquidity building at around 70.6k to 70.7k, and another level building at around 71,500. And so obviously those levels, especially that that 71.5k level is sitting pretty much right at these highs, right at this level of resistance at give or take 71.5, 71.6k. And so once again, considering the shorter term factors that are playing out, this shorter term bullish divergence and this oversold signal still playing out on the 3-day time frame, and especially now that we have new liquidity building just above the price of Bitcoin at around 70.6k and 71.5k, it is quite likely that in the next few days or so we'll slowly move up towards retesting this resistance right here to wipe out those levels of liquidity. But then once again, as I just said a moment ago, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see a huge breakout. It is possible that we just see another retest and then continue to struggle around this area, kind of like what we saw just here. It's still possible, and in fact likely we could see potentially another rejection from around this area on the price chart, especially at give or take 72,000. And so once again, those are still my predictions in the short term, still perfectly playing out here. But remember, understand the difference between the different time frames. If we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, talking about a trend over multiple months, overall, once again, we're not in the clear yet if we're looking at the weekly time frame. So keep that in mind. That's the shorter term situation. Those are my expectations and the key levels to watch out for moving forward. And obviously, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any crypto, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below the video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, which is an exchange that I personally use myself. And by the way, it's also a no KYC exchange. And you can see right here that 2bit recently partnered with La Liga. So to celebrate this partnership, there's currently an 800,000 USD prize pool that you can take advantage of simply just by trading crypto using that first link below the video to 2bit. So obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out and take advantage of some major prizes here just by trading crypto using that first link below the video. And once again, in case you're wondering, yes, 2bit is a no KYC exchange. But if you want another option out there, another exchange that I also personally use myself to claim some extra bonuses on, then in that situation, check out the second link below the video in the description and in the pinned comment, because the second link below this video will take you to this page right here over on the Pinex crypto exchange, where just by depositing as little as $100, you can potentially win up to $100,000 worth of gold with this new event that's happening right now, only for the next 1 week or so. And so as you can see on this page, if you simply just make an account using that second link below the video to Pinex, once again, it'll take you to this page right here. If you deposit just $100 in USDT, you get 1 ticket into this raffle. If you deposit 1,000, you get 2 tickets, so on and so forth. Up to these larger deposits, you get much more entries into this raffle right here, where you could potentially win up to $100,000 in gold just by simply making a deposit on a crypto exchange. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, if you're going to be making deposits, you might as well check this out. Take advantage of this to potentially win some major prizes here. Once again, second link below this video to Pinex if you want to take advantage and check out all of this right here. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance on the daily time frame, and right now, obviously the immediate short term, we're seeing a bit of a pullback in the Bitcoin dominance, but overall, the current trends that we're in on the daily time frame is still relatively neutral. We're still basically just bouncing around somewhat sideways here on the daily Bitcoin dominance chart, which basically is still telling us that a lot of the major altcoins out there on average will likely be performing very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing. So we're not really seeing a huge Bitcoin season or altcoin season. We're just seeing actually a lot of correlation across the crypto market. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now the price of ETH is still in this massive range right here between this support and this resistance. First of all, we have a lot of support down here based on these lows sitting at around 1.5k to 1.6k, and we have a lot of resistance here based on previous support flipping into new resistance sitting in between roughly 2.2k to 2.4k here in the 3-day time frame. And we're also actively playing out an oversold signal in the 3-day Ethereum RSI, very similar to the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, also playing out this oversold signal, helping to cause a little bit of a bounce and a bit of a relief, a break from all of the bearish price action just in the shorter term, which will likely continue over a period of days or potentially weeks. And so basically expect a very similar price action as to what we saw around December 2025. So once again, not necessarily a huge reversal and an end out of the larger bearish trend, but just a bit of a shorter term break, a bit of a bullish relief, maybe some choppy sideways price action here and there during the larger bearish move. Just in the shorter term, it's still quite likely, if we're talking about maybe the next next couple of weeks. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, obviously we're still holding above this crucial level of support here, sitting at around 1.8k. And this area of resistance is actually starting at just below 2.2k, more specifically around 2150. So especially around 2150 to 2250, we have a lot of resistance around there on the price chart that we need to pay attention to. And so like I've already been saying recently here on the channel, it is quite likely, especially if Bitcoin continues this slight little bullish relief, which is ultimately my prediction here in the short term, it's quite likely that Ethereum very soon will come up for a retest of close to 2150. And then as we get closer towards that area or potentially enter into that area, obviously expect more struggle, expect potential rejections from around that area, considering right now it's still acting as strong resistance. And so overall, that's still my prediction right now in the short term for the price of ETH. Nothing much has changed over the last few days because it's all still perfectly playing out, obviously. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, overall, if we're talking about the much larger or longer term trends, the multi-month trend, we're still not in the clear yet, despite the current short-term bounce, short-term relief. Remember, understand the difference between the different time frames. Yes, we could see shorter term bounces, short-term reliefs that can even last for a couple of weeks, as we could see right here, 2 weekly candles in a row in the green. But remember, if we're looking at the bigger picture, the multi-month trend still technically within a much larger bearish trend, not yet confirmed an end or a reversal out of that trend. So keep that in mind. This massive bearish divergence still playing out on the weekly XRP price chart. But with that being said, here in the short term, we are indeed holding this crucial area of support here, sitting in between around $1.30 to $1.40, which is actually pretty much exactly where the price just bounced from over the last few days, in between $1.30 to $1.40. And so at least in the short term for the time being, once again, that's some good news to pay attention to for the price of XRP. And the next significant resistance to watch out for, if we see a bit more of a bounce here, is starting at especially around $1.60. That is a key level to watch out for on the price chart, likely acting as strong resistance around $1.60. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day XRP price chart, obviously, as I've already been mentioning for close to a week now, obviously since after we saw that flash crash right here, we saw an oversold signal confirm in the 3-day XRP RSI. And the last time we saw this signal confirm in the 3-day XRP RSI was all the way back here around July 2024. And what came next was, yes, just a bit of a bullish relief in the short term over the next few days and potentially the next couple of weeks. But as I've been saying this entire time, even though I expect just a bit of a bullish relief, maybe some choppy sideways price action here and there, a break from all of the bearish price action, this is not necessarily a bottom signal. This does not necessarily guarantee that the bearish trend is over. Obviously, it is still possible we play out a bit of a relief like this and then ultimately continue the larger bearish trend later on. That's still a potential risk that we need to consider. And so obviously, while we're playing out this oversold signal, playing out a slight bullish relief in the short term, once again, as I said a moment ago, we need to be aware of points of resistance along the way towards the upside where the price could potentially reject from or struggle at, or potentially turn around from this slight little bullish relief to ultimately continue the larger bearish trend. And the first significant point of resistance, as I just mentioned a moment ago, is at around $1.60. So keep that in mind. But if we can actually break out back above $1.60 with confirmation, in that situation, the next significant level on the price chart would be sitting at around $1.80. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the weekly time frame, we can see that just over the last matter of days, we saw a perfect bounce from my exact area of support on the weekly Solana price chart, sitting in between $75 to $80. And as I've been saying many times here, that's a crucial area of support for the price of Solana, in between $75 to $80, because previously, over multiple years worth of price action, worth of price history right here, we could see multiple extremely important bounces from this area. And obviously below this area, especially below around $75, we don't really have a lot of traded price action. We don't have a lot of history within this range right here, in between roughly $50 to $75, which means if we actually confirm a break below 75, if we fail to hold this area, which we're currently bouncing from as support, but if we fail to at some stage in the future hold this as support and see a confirmed break below 75, and if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, yes, it is potentially likely we'll see a move all the way down towards roughly $50 per Solana if we first confirm a break below 75. Once again, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying if that happens, then that would be the next major target towards the downside. But at least for now in the short term, once again, we're still holding $75 to $80, at least for now, acting as a key area of support. And remember, as I've said many times here on the channel, the price of Solana, along with a lot of these major altcoins, will likely follow very similar price action to whatever Bitcoin is doing here in the short term, which means obviously if Bitcoin's playing out this shorter term bullish divergence, also playing out an oversold signal, currently playing out just a slight little relief, coming in for a test of these points of resistance, it's quite likely Solana and other major altcoins will play out something similar, at least here in the short term. But remember, that's potentially just a shorter term relief during this much larger bearish trend. And in case you're wondering, the next significant area of resistance to watch out for the price of Solana is sitting in between roughly $95 to $105. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, it's a somewhat similar situation for Chainlink. Obviously, we've just seen a pretty much perfect bounce from this area of support here in between around $7.90 to $8.50. And if we fail to hold that as support, if we see a confirmed break below especially $7.90 and fail to get back above that area, in that situation, the next significant area of support towards the downside starts at roughly $5.50, in between around $5 to $5.50. But obviously right now, once again, we're still holding this area of support at give or take $8, still acting as support as we could see. And we're also playing out this oversold signal, just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., playing out an oversold signal here in the 3-day RSI, which is telling us we're likely going to see over a period of days or possibly weeks, just a slight bullish relief or maybe a bit of choppy sideways price action here and there. Basically, a bit of a break or a relief from all of the bearish price action is still quite likely over the next few days or possibly weeks, that sort of time frame. And so basically, the price action that we saw back here in the shorter term, basically during December 2025, is still quite likely in the short term moving forward for the price of Chainlink. But remember, that does not necessarily mean we've hit the bottom for the larger trend. It can occur during the larger bearish trend, so keep that in mind. But that's still the short-term situation. And of course, the next major point of resistance to watch out for is sitting in between around $9.50 to $10. And so obviously not all of this changed in my predictions over the last one day, because basically the price is still playing out my predictions that I've been saying for quite a while now. And obviously, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, get set up ready to go using those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to take advantage of extra bonuses that are only available using those links to certain exchanges. And of course, if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves no matter what direction the price goes, even if the price is bearish, you can still make money in crypto by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.